So let's talk about a reality for product managers. You live and breathe your product strategy, right? You know the market inside and out, you know the customer, you've got all the data. But then comes the hard part, getting everyone else on board. And that's where even the best plans can just completely fall apart. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? Your brilliant strategy, your killer roadmap, they're basically just words on a page until you can make other people feel the potential, until you can inspire them to take action. And that's exactly what we're going to cover. How to turn your presentations from just updates into moments that actually move people. So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll talk about why communication is your secret weapon. Then we'll look at the #1 mistake most PMs make. After that, we'll get into a crucial mindset shift, build a super simple framework for your narrative, and finally, we'll cover some pro tips for delivering with some real impact. All right, let's kick things off with a fundamental truth about being a PM. Your primary tool isn't authority, it's influence. I mean, you can't just walk over and tell engineers, designers, or marketers what to do. It doesn't work like that. You have to convince them. You have to bring them along for the ride. I absolutely love this metaphor of the PM as an orchestra conductor. Just think about it for a second. The conductor doesn't play a single note, but they're responsible for the entire symphony. That's you. Your job is to align all these amazing, talented teams, engineering, marketing, design, and guide them to create one beautiful, cohesive product. And your baton? That's your ability to communicate the vision, loud and clear.
Okay, so if communication is this critical superpower, why do so many product presentations, why do they fall flat? It almost always comes down to one specific mistake, a trap that even experienced PMs fall into all the time.
Which brings us to this big question. Why is it that we can sit through presentations packed with data, timelines, and specs, and walk away feeling, nothing? We might be informed, sure, but we're definitely not inspired to go out and build the future. The answer lies in what we choose to focus on. And this right here is the critical difference. So often we fall into the trap. We give a detailed report on feature specs, we use a lot of technical jargon, we talk about internal metrics. It's really just a status update. But the goal, where we need to be, is to build a presentation around real user problems, focused on delivering actual customer value, and always tied to that bigger, inspiring product vision. So how do we make that jump, from the trap to the goal? It really takes a fundamental shift in how we see our role. We need to stop thinking of ourselves as just reporters of information and start seeing ourselves as something way more powerful. Your job isn't to report, it's to tell a story. A story is what connects the dots between data and emotion. It's what gives context to your features. A great story is what makes your team, your stakeholders, and your execs really feel the user's pain and then get genuinely excited about the solution you're proposing. It turns a boring roadmap into a heroic journey. And a great story, doesn't matter if it's a 5-minute sprint review or a 30-minute keynote, it does 3 things really, really well. It's got to be informative, obviously, people need the facts. It has to be memorable, so it sticks with them long after they've left the room. And it has to be exciting. It needs to generate real energy and passion for what you're building together. Okay, tell a story sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do it? Look, this isn't about becoming a best-selling author, it's just about having a solid structure. And lucky for us, there's a simple and incredibly powerful framework you can use for pretty much any presentation you ever have to give. It's the past, present, future framework. Our brains are literally wired to understand timelines, which makes this structure super easy to follow. You start in the past, grounding everyone in the problem. Why does this matter? Who is it for? Then, you bring them to the present. Here is our clever solution and the value it provides. And finally, you launch into the future. Here's the grand vision, this is where we're going, and this is what we need to do next to make it happen. And let me just double click on that first part for a second, because it is the most critical piece of the puzzle. Everything, your solution, your features, your vision, it has to flow from a deep, real understanding of the customer's problem. When you start there, your story isn't just a product pitch anymore. It's a mission to solve a real human need. So you've crafted the perfect narrative. The story is solid. But a great story can be totally undermined by a flat or nervous delivery. So that brings us to our final piece. How do you actually own the room with your presence? All right, here are some rapid-fire tips. First, do be passionate. If you aren't excited about solving this problem, why should anyone else be? Let that energy show. And do practice your story until it feels natural, not like you've memorized a script. The don'ts are key too. Don't just list facts, weave them into the narrative. And please, please don't get lost in the technical weeds. You have to connect with everyone in the room, not just the other engineers. Now I want to share my single favorite tip. In any meeting, any presentation, what's one thing you can do to immediately command attention and project leadership before you've even said a word? It's this simple. Stand up, walk to the focal point of the room, the whiteboard, and just start drawing. When you take control of the visual space, you are physically demonstrating leadership. You're not a passive participant anymore. You are actively guiding the conversation. It feels authoritative because it is.
So let's bring it all home. If you forget everything else, just remember these 3 key takeaways. Number 1, shift your mindset. You are a storyteller, not a reporter. 2, structure your story using that simple but powerful past, present, future framework. And 3, own the room. Use your physical presence to project confidence and leadership.
And that leaves us with one final thought. You probably have a presentation coming up soon, a sprint review, a roadmap meeting, whatever. So the question is, what are you going to do? Are you going to fall back into the trap and just give an update? Or are you going to stand up and tell a truly compelling story? The choice is all yours.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like.